All right. Let me see. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, okay. Now I'm tracking. Now I'm tracking for the most part. So let's go back here. All right. Close this. Maybe. All right. We'll see if anybody comes on TikTok. If anybody does join in, I appreciate you. Hang out for a bit. I won't be on here real long, but just trying to work through some kinks, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I really don't have a whole lot of nonsense to talk about tonight because I am exhausted from dicking with this. Um, but here we are. Whatever works. So, what the hell is it up? Oh, continuously uploading. Okay. Now I'm tracking. Now I'm tracking. Let's see. Let's see what the chat looks like. Studio chat. It says I can whisper backstage. Isn't that something? Well, that's pretty cool. What's good, peoples? What's up, TikTok? What's up, YouTube? Am I on Instagram? I have no idea. We'll find out here in just a minute. And like I was just saying, for those that I gotta turn myself down in my head. Hang on. Those that are just joining, I yeah, sorry, Mohammed, I do not want to co-host. No, thank you. No, thank you, sir. Who's along? Whoa. But yeah, I'm just going through a few things, trying to work out some kinks. Again, that's why I'm on here late. Trying to see if I can get this to work. I'm actually on live via TikTok on my phone tonight. Everything else I'm streaming how I have been, but TikTok Live Studio has been less than I don't know, less than helpful to me, I guess. I don't know if you remember me or not. It used to be an SRO, Wayne Township Schools. Connor, don't tell me your last name. Oh, I'm sure I'll remember you. I'm terrible with names because I've got so many names over the years to remember, but I guarantee you I remember you. Like I don't forget a face or a person, especially if you're one that. Oh hell! Okay. Yeah, were you across the street? Yeah. Were you at Sanders? Ha! All right. Now I do remember you. That's freaking awesome, man. What's good, bud? How are you? How's life? How are all the things? Damn, man. I have talked to so many students here that I haven't heard from in so long here recently, and it's awesome, man. Yeah, I've missed you guys more than you had any idea. I hated leaving when I did, especially how I did because it was in the middle of the pandemic, um, when we had shut down, and I didn't come back to school, or I didn't come back to work after that, so I didn't really get to say bye to anybody. Um, but I had to go what was good for me at the time, and it was. I was there I was there 6 years, and I'm not there now. Um, hindsight 2020, but I got a lot of, I got a lot of good out of my experience there. I learned a lot, went through a lot, experienced a lot, and you never don't have any regrets in life, right? Because whoever you are, wherever you're sitting, whatever in the hell it was you've gone through, it made you into who you are. Ended up graduating. That's awesome. Los Sanders went back to Morrisville and graduated. That's awesome, man. So what are you doing now? What you still trying to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life? Like me? Which is completely okay, dude. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not. As long as you're not depending on living in Washington, as in Washington State or DC or Indiana. There's lots of Washingtons. And for those that are asking, I'm not smoking. I don't smoke. I've gone through hell the past couple months. This is, my wife calls it my fidget. Mrs. Officer Craig calls this my fidget. So it is. So I chew on cigars. I don't smoke them. I just chew on them. Kind of gross, I know, but there could be worse things I could do, right? I was almost now. I wanted to go into EMS and Washington State. That's phenomenal, dude. Yeah, brother. And like I was just saying, that it makes you don't regret it. And I don't know if I ever, got that deep with you at any point in time, but I'd been there myself. And even when I thought, after going through all of that and thinking that I would never allow myself to get to that position ever again because it was hell, I literally just went through something very, very similar within the past 6 months. And it was worse in some ways this time around because I have a family. And it's different when it's just you're depending on. And nobody else is depending on you, I guess, for lack of a better term. But when you have others that are absolutely depending on you, then you absolutely it's definitely a different feel and a different vibe. But everything happens for a reason, man. For 3 years now to get disabilities. Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry. My camera's like, I've been screwing around with this a lot. I've taken time off past 6 months. We lost our house and we lost my job all in the same week. And I won't get into it a whole lot because it brings my mood. I you can find out what happened out there, especially if you're on TikTok. You can check out the link in my bio, but and it'll give you a little bit better idea of what happened. But this anyway, I'm what I'm screwing with here. We've got multiple cameras set up, but I'm on TikTok just through the app. YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, the rest are all through a separate streaming platform. But so I'm trying to read. So my TikTok comments are here. Everybody else's comments are here, and I'm trying to read. My eyes, and it is late, or it's 2:21 Eastern Standard Time here on the East Coast, so it's hard for me to read. So please forgive me ahead of time. Let me try to figure this out. Applied disability because of my mental. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad. How long? Just curious. You don't have to share any of this with me if you don't want to. How long did it take you? Because I've worked with people, and I've tried to get, from former students, from young folks to people older than me. I've tried to assist and go through the process and getting them disability and whatnot. And one thing I've learned when dealing with the federal government, the Social Security Administration, is there's not really any consistency as far as, hey, I expect they're going to turn you down or approve you or whatever the case may be. But just curious how long that took you. Yeah, submitting the 3 years. Okay, that was my question. Sorry. Emily, yeah, I will. I'll definitely be back, and that was part of the reason we came down here. I am in Tampa at the moment, and came down to explore a couple of job opportunities and job offers. Um, but yeah, I'll definitely be. I'm not done. That's being a cop was the only thing I wanted to do. Um, so being certified here and there, 2 different states now. Um, I'm still a certified sworn peace officer. I just not currently with the department. And maybe, and in the beginning I was, I guess in hindsight, looked a little more picky, I guess. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but I just didn't want to. Things have changed. The realm of the law enforcement world has definitely changed, and so have I. I've gotten older, and the drive and the motivation that I had to go kick doors and chase bad guys at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not saying it's still not there, but it's a lot different from when I was 31. Because the world's different as well. And the lack of respect or lack thereof of respect for law enforcement, and how it's being taught to younger generations, um, you wouldn't believe it. It's more times than not. There's a tremendous amount of disrespect for law enforcement. Um, at this day and age, just on a normal traffic stop, and if you aren't someone that is passionate about this job, that is passionate about what you're doing, that has this, motivation and drive in you to do that every day, and if you can't or don't see the bigger picture in things, then your patience will wear very thin. And even if you do see the bigger picture, and I'm one that I'd like to think that I do. I love this job. I take it personal, so when I see another officer stepping in, um, somewhere else, it may, when one does bad, we all look bad. So it's not just, oh, well, he's with some other department. No, that's not how it works. And that's something that people don't understand. And I don't care if you're a reserve officer, you work inside of a jail or whatever else. If you put on a uniform and a badge to go to work, does the general public give a damn whether, well, that guy only works at a jail? Okay. Well, this guy, he's not really a sworn cop. He's just a reserve. He volunteers his time. Okay. No, it doesn't matter. So everything you do or that person does while in, behind that badge and uniform is reflective to all of us who have done this job for any amount of time. So, yeah, I'd like to think that I've always tried to be one that I try to keep my integrity on the up and up and not do, because I worked way too damn hard to get to where I am. Not where I'm sitting right now. Well, that's not true, because I worked hard to get here as well, but especially in law enforcement, because that was all I ever wanted to do. So give me just a second if you don't mind. I'm going to try to pull this up so I'm not squinting and doing this and trying to scan. Let me put the TikTok chat up a little bit more up close and personal so I can chat with you, Connor. Curious how in the hell you ended up out in Washington, man. Like that's incredible. Let me turn this nonsense down. That's incredible. Like I said, I'm in Florida at the moment, but how long we will be here, that I don't know. What did that say? This say I can't watch. It's a bunch of. There we go. It's not going to let me watch my own live stream. We'll see. Let me try to bounce up out this beast. All right, give me just a second. I'm sorry. That, like I said, this is a test live stream for a lot of things. So, see, I was homeless in Indiana and had a family member that took you in. Thankfully, man, that's incredible. And don't take that for granted. And I know you probably don't. Not saying that you do, but just I'm saying this to you as a reminder. As any of us that are human beings, that it's that we take things for granted. I don't care what it is. It won't let me. That's just ridiculous. Just a second. Yeah, because you forget, and it's easy to take things that people do for you or other people in your life. It's easy to take them for granted, and be very, very grateful to have family in your life or relatives in your life that are willing to help you out. Because everything that we have gone through over the past few months, it's just not there, man. And I don't have any family left. Like my youngest, I just told, who was it? I just told this to tonight, and I didn't really realize it until I said it out loud. She doesn't have any aunts. She doesn't have any uncles. She doesn't have any grandparents. And that's just because I don't have any parents left. Mrs. Officer Craig, same boat. It's just it's a strange place to be in. And, unless you've ever been through and experienced something like you experienced or what we just went through, come on. There we go. You don't get it. And that's great. I love it for the people that don't get it, because that means you've got family in your life and people in your life that care. So it's, just don't take that for granted, because there are so many people out there that do not, man, that absolutely do not. And just because you share blood with someone, this is something else that a lot of people don't get or understand. They think you're being away. Like, just because you share the same blood with someone does not mean that they're family, or does not mean that you are on good terms with this person. I grew up in, a family with a lot of turmoil, and to say dysfunction isn't even the word, but it builds you, it molds you into who you are. So, but getting back to that point, and like I said, we lost our house on my daughter's 16th birthday, and about half of, I don't know, almost half everything in it. We came down here and we didn't have anything. And losing my job, like losing my house, would have been detrimental enough. You know what I mean? If it had been the house and not the job, or the job and not the house, but to have both of those, watershed moments in my life that I had never experienced, and I went through them both within 5-6 day period of each other. And I just, not me, my family and I, and our two Cheweenies. It's taken a while to process it all. It's taken a while to process it, find out what my next move needs to be, should be, all of those sort of things. So that's, that's where we are with that. I ended up here. I've been down here since the winter, and I love the state of Florida. I've lived down here one other period of time, but just like everything else, Florida has changed a great deal as well since the last time I was down here. And I think the last time I was down here was '07. My mom lived here and she passed away in '01. So it's been, and that's another thing that's crazy. My mom's been gone 20, what did I say, 25 years, I guess? Yeah, 25 years, like 2 weeks ago. Not even 2 weeks ago, it was last Sunday or Saturday. Um, I've been alive longer. I've lived this life more without my mom in my life than I ever did with her in it. And for someone that has such a huge impact on my life, um, and for that, to be the case, I was 23 when she died. Um, she's been gone for 25 years, so I've obviously been alive longer than she was. You know, I've lived without her longer than I ever did while she was alive, and to still have that void, to miss my mom like that, it's different. So I say this because Mother's Day is coming up. For those of you that are fortunate enough to still have your mom in your life, don't take it for granted, man. That's the one person. I don't care who you are. Uh, there's no one else that's walking the face of the earth that you could have a bond with at the level that you do your mom, regardless of how your relationship is with your mom now. Um, you know, she still carried you for 9 months. Like that's a bond that's a bond that you're not on the Brady. Why would I be on the Brady list? You got me confused with somebody else. You got me twisted with somebody else. You got me twisted with somebody else that used to work in my department. Why would I be on the Brady list? That's funny. Must have been dead at 13 to a drunk driver. I'm 60. The void never goes away. Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. And that's, yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, that void stays there. That void absolutely stays there. No, I'm in South Florida at the moment. I don't know how long we'll be here. This job that I'm working towards in the process with right now may keep me here, may not. I'm not sure. Not sure yet. So, but we'll find out. We shall see. Like I said, I would love to, I definitely wasn't ready. I'm good at what I do as far as being in schools and whatnot. And I'm absolutely miss doing that. I'm curious. Look, Lily, where'd you go? Ask me if I'm on the Brady list, and why would you? You obviously got that from somewhere. I'm curious. I am curious. Do. Yeah, that's only with been in this 16 years. That's a week. That's week training. How long were we in Indy before leaving Florida? What? How long did I live in Indy? Is that what you're asking? I've been in Indy my whole life, with the exception of about one other. With the exception of one other stint for about what, a little over a year, I guess. So see, I'm curious who this clown is. Because someone to say, "Oh, you're not on the Brady list," like they were. Why would I? That that tells me that somebody's been either been spreading lies, which is always possible, or she completely had me confused with someone else, which is possible because there is someone I used to work with that did end up on the Brady list, unfortunately. So, watch your lives back in 2023. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that and glad you're still here. Greg, yes. I've been an SRO for the past 10 years. That's what I've spent the past 6 years working. Look, just do a little digging. You can look at my bio or look at my videos on here. I've I have all the training and you can't really get anything else as when it comes to school policing. As far as training and experience. 2022, I was SR of the Year for Region 5 for 5-state region for the National Association of School Resource Officers, as well as Indiana and a couple of other accolades and awards. I've been on multiple national media outlets as a one call me an expert on, but I don't consider anyone an expert until they write a book. As a what's the deal with this here? As a school policing subject matter expert. So it's been, and more so than anything, I'm a dad. More so than anything, I'm a dad, and that's part of what makes someone good at that job. Because working in schools, with society's most trusted commodity, with our kids, that's something that you've got to care. You have to give a damn. And as I would always tell folks, your give a shitter can't be broken. And you truly have to care about kids that are not yours and making them or helping put them on the path to becoming successful adults one day. And because now we have so many kids, like schools are full of kids that do not have positive male role models or positive adult role models or guidance, period, male or female. And it's sad. And we wonder why our nation's going to hell in a handbasket. And that's, that's the problem in many, many ways. But yeah, I love it. Like I said, I enjoy it. And that's why it was hard to process. But I left the sheriff's department back in 2020, somewhere in there, and went to help build a school police department. Because in Indiana, they have, more so than not anymore, depending on the size of the school district, they have schools that they have their own statutory police departments. And that was our goal, was to become the model school police department in the state of Indiana. And we were we were there. We were there. We had the best of the best. We had the best people in place to do this at the time. But a few years into it, things started to fall apart, and it fell apart with my chief. Especially when you're new to an area. We were in a suburb. Things started to fall apart because you make people get offended, especially if you come in and shake things up a little bit, and not in a bad way. I'm just saying in a good way. But there were some things that they went after him for, and some things that he had done, and it it sucked because him and I worked well together. We worked really well together. We worked together at sheriff's department up until that point. He is the one that ended up on the Brady list. Um, but once after he left, the last thing I wanted was, because I was his second in command. The last thing I wanted was somebody to come in and to undo all the hard work that we had put in to get to that point. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And when that individual had the opportunity to get me out of his hair, in a way, because everything that I did, from my appearance to my uniform to how I spoke to how I wrote, to my law enforcement knowledge, made him look bad because he was deficient in all of those areas. And I'm not talking bad about someone, but if you're not it, you're not it. Like, that's, um, but that's what the school district went with, and I got to respect that. So they made the bed that they got to lie in the bed that they made. Wife was a middle school librarian, man, and you wouldn't believe it. Hell, there was more. There ended up being more politics in that little ass department. Excuse my language, that we were in, because when we started that department, there was only 5 of us, 5 officers and a chief. When I left, I think we'd gotten up to 8. But I was in an administrative role. I was interim after my chief left. I just, like I said, my whole goal was, I did not want to see some outsider come in and undo it. If you can find somebody better than me, fantastic. I hope so. I'm all about it. Hell, I even stayed for 2 more years after you found somebody, after you didn't give me the job, and gave it to somebody that had never been a supervisor in law enforcement. They'd never worked the street. They'd never been a full-time police officer that took calls and runs and everything else. They'd only worked in a school. They'd never had a rank more than officer. The only supervisor or management experience they had was as a manager of a drugstore. And I'm not, believe me, I'm not saying anything wrong with that at all. However, that does not translate into leading police officers. It truly doesn't. So they haven't been the same since you left. Oh, and the last year I was there, or I appreciate saying that, and I knew that. Like, the last year I was there, I was just buying my time. Like, I came back after I was accused of something that I didn't do, and thank God that I was smart enough that I had it on body camera. And they tried to out me that way, but so they didn't give me the job. They give this other guy the job. They removed me from the process without investigating this claim. Unbeknownst to them, I had the whole thing on body cam. And now that I'm not there, that may find its way to YouTube very soon, because I was chief at the time. I was interim chief at the time. So I obviously absolutely released it to anybody that wanted to see it. But I'm not one to stir the pot. I fall in line. I'm somebody that does things, and if the powers to be want you to do something a certain way and it's not against the law or questioning my integrity or anything like that, then I'm going to do it. I'm not here to start. That's why people are like, oh man, you should sue him. You should. Yeah, I should. I absolutely should have. I should have 2 years ago, and I absolutely should now. But I just, what good? That's not giving me my job back. It doesn't change anything that I've just gone through. And I never wanted anything like that to hinder my future, job opportunities, because I know I've hired a lot of people. I've been involved in hiring a lot of people over the years. I don't do you want to hire someone that just sued their former employer? Nah, probably not. However, just looking at the officers now, eh, there's no respect. They have no respect for that role themselves. Just because you work in a school doesn't mean that you have to look like Paul Blart. And that's exactly, since I've been gone, I think they've been through 1, 2, 3, 4 officers in 6, 7 months. 3 at least. Like he hated, like, I've done this for 16 years. I've never gone to work without being in a Class A uniform. And I'm old school, but I'm not covered in tattoos. I don't like officers with facial hair. I think that's crap. I think it looks like absolute trash. Um, I don't like police officers wearing outer tactical vests and 511s. So they do a traffic stop and they're out running traffic and they walk up with a big full beard down here and their hands in their vest and they come up, "Hey, you have any idea why I stopped you?" Looking like they just jumped out of a helicopter. I'm like, time out. Hold on a minute. If one of my daughters or my wife gets stopped and you impede their freedom because they were, they'd broken some infraction, they broke the speed limit, whatever the case may be, that's a business transaction. It's a business deal. You should be dressed as such. You are stopping someone's freedom, and it better be on the up and up. So when you walk up strolling with torn up boots and sunglasses on your head backwards and a big beard down to here, hands in your dirty old tack vest, looking like you're trying to be a SWAT guy, but you can't do that because you can't do 25 push-ups. No, I'm not about that. I'm absolutely not about that. And they've taught this in law enforcement academies for years. You look at people that are in prison that have either shot law enforcement officers or that have fought and resisted them. There's been study after study after study that is done, and they're like, why did you choose that officer? Like, you interacted with 10 within that hour. Why did you choose to fight that one? And 99.9% of the time, it's because I look like I could beat their ass, or they looked lazy. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing. And I don't care. You could be the smartest, most baddest person to ever put on a uniform, or you could not be. But if you look like you know what you're doing, if you take pride in that uniform and in that badge, your boots are polished, your shoes are shined, your buttons are shiny, guess what? When you walk up on a traffic stop or you stop somebody, if somebody's thinking about running or pulling a firearm or something like that on you, they see that, chances are they're like, I may wait till the next guy. This guy seems to like what he does. He seems to know what the hell he's doing. And there's so much to be said about that. And I just saw a picture of my former department, sadly. And this is, I left a department with the Marion County Sheriff's Department in Indianapolis, Indiana. I anticipated, my plan was to retire from there. Like, I loved that department. I'd been on the honor guard there since my rookie year. I had rank. I was an SRT sergeant. I had, I don't know, anywhere, depending on the day of the week, 15 to 25 deputies underneath me on a team. And I was on a good trajectory. I never wanted to leave. But this opportunity in Avon, I couldn't pass it up. Like, I guess I could have, but my wife worked there. My daughter went to school there. And from the time my daughter had started kindergarten, I'd always said, man, if I ever got the opportunity to do things different here, because they did things wrong, from traffic to how they were protecting schools. They had schools out in the middle of cornfields and nobody around to protect them. And there were so many things that they needed help with that I knew that I could help them with. And when a guy I used to work with got the chief job out there, and we both at the time were working in schools, yeah, there was, I got a $20,000 a year raise, uh, at new vehicles and all of the equipment that you ever needed. So when I got a guy, when unfortunately my chief separated there very abruptly, and I immediately became interim. They asked me if I would apply for the job to take the full-time job. I said, yeah, because like I said, wasn't anything I really wanted to. Was I ready at the time? I'd probably not, but I was going to figure it out over letting somebody else come in and undo everything. And 2 days before my final interview, it was between me and one other person. After I think there were 15 people applied, this individual, a new officer who I was ready to, who was not the person we thought we were, or we thought we were hiring, I was given a reprimand to because I just caught this person coming in hours late, not minutes late, hours. And this officer filed a false complaint on me. And fortunately, I had it all on body cam, or else this would have gone in a really bad way, and it could have cost me my entire career. So I'm a big proponent of body cams, from situations like that to, complaints on the street. Those are beneficial. I think they're a much bigger help than they are a hindrance. Greg says, I agree entirely. The paramilitary look is a bad look for a patrol officer. Absolutely. Like, dress for the job. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I have absolutely I have worn that get up plenty of times. I've got plenty of tack vest and all of the things over the years, but I was also on a warrant team. But even when I was leading warrant teams, high risk felony warrant teams, even when I was doing that, most of the time, unless it was raining or snowing, you could tell who the supervisor was. You could tell who the gold badge was without looking to see if the badge was gold or silver, because I stood out. And that's I hate racist. I appreciate the follow. Thank you so much. I agree entire. I thought I saw another. Your ex department, not union. No, and that's the thing. And that was a risk I was taking as well. Coming into these new school police departments, no, definitely not union at all. Keep in mind, and I don't know where you're from, Indianapolis, there are a lot of areas of the country where unions mean something, right? Unions don't really mean anything in Indiana unless you're probably maybe Northwest Chicago, or Northwest Indiana rather, or you're an electrician or a pipe fitter, but aside from that, I mean, the FOP, you pay for that for, in case you getting some jammed up in something, they will send you an attorney. But I don't know. And I look back on all the things that I don't understand, because I gave that place everything. Like, I gave it everything that I could give on a daily basis. And I think they expected me to leave after, because I knew where all the quote unquote, I knew where all the skeletons were, put it that way. And that made me a liability. Love body cams that show that police are doing a good job and help if, absolutely. That's it, man. You're absolutely correct. And with this situation, depending on the body cam, and I can't remember the name of them now, Utility by Body Worn. It was a camera that slides in your uniform, so it's not something that was on the outside of your uniform. You have all your uniforms retrofitted with a fisheye lens, and it's basically just a cell phone that slides in the front of your uniform shirt like that. That it was people would forget, because a lot of times, officer shows up, you can see if their body cam's on, it's glaring, it becomes this focal point of the conversation or the incident, right? But a lot of times, if you've got it like that and it's hidden, you don't even think about it. The person on scene doesn't think about it as it should be, right? So when I went to have a conversation with this officer and to give a very, very young officer, a very brand new officer, a reprimand, that this officer had no idea that I was recording, because thank the Lord, before I walked in there, I turned it down all the way, because a lot of times they'll beep to remind you that it's on, so you don't go in and have a morning constitutional on lunch or something, go to the restroom and it's still recording. But yeah, they removed me from the promotion process without even looking into it. And that was, they should have paused the promotion process or reopened it and started it all over. However, the guy that fired me, I think that pisses me off more than anything, because I didn't respect him as a police officer. I respect him as a lot of other things maybe, but in law enforcement, no, because he didn't have a passion for the job. He didn't, never did. He was one of those guys that didn't know what else to do, and went to go work in a school because his wife was a teacher. And I am against anyone, you should have worked the street a minimum of 3 years before you are allowed to work in a school, period. Like, you should know what the job's about. You should, at 3 years, you start to get to that point where it's not new anymore, because law enforcement is a job with a tremendous amount of responsibility, and it's not for everyone. It's not. But to have your first job in law enforcement be as an SRO in a school, negative. Absolutely not. And then you never get promoted from that point. You're not even like shift supervisor at the school that you work at. In the first promotion, you're chief of police. Are you kidding me? Yeah. I think corrections, then street, then school have all the backgrounds. And it's just like anything. You're not going to, unfortunately, now there's so many people that they just see the perk side of being an SRO. So guys, that maybe don't enjoy doing what they're doing anymore, like, oh, I want to do that. Y'all don't do anything. Well, yeah, it may look like that. And there are a lot of officers out there that don't, or SROs out there that don't do much. And shame on the schools for allowing this, because, for lack of a better term, when I first started working in schools, I didn't want to be a full-time SRO at all, because the full-time guys I knew that worked in schools were just that. They were the Walmart greeter job of law enforcement. They were out of shape. They were lazy. They hadn't seen their feet in years. They were what we call in honor guard and whatnot, a soup sandwich. Their uniform looked terrible, and they were usually, the people that worked in schools full time, they were usually the less desirables, the guys that chiefs and sheriffs didn't want anymore, and definitely didn't want out and about in the public. And the story was always the same. Man, old Joe that works over at the schools now, man, Joe, he's 3 years from retirement. He's been on 25 years. He's a hell of a nice guy. He's had 4 heart attacks. He's only got 2.5 years to go till retirement. Every time I can't let him work street anymore. He gets a complaint filed on him, or he makes crude comments to women everywhere he goes. So we'll just put him in the school where nobody can see him, where he doesn't have to deal with the general public. Hold time out. That sounds great and all, unless it's your freaking kid that Fat Joe is protecting. Am I wrong? And if it's your child that this guy's protecting, especially at a day and an age where you know school killings are through the roof. You want somebody that is not only, that has their head on a swivel, that is looking, that is actively engaging. You need somebody that's proactive, and you need somebody that's in good enough shape that can run towards a threat, sprint towards a threat, and then engage that threat once they get there. And for many, many years, that's not what this was. So an SRO, just as anything else, as any other specialized division, as a detective, SWAT, you name it, like training is the caveat that makes that officer, that deputy successful in that arena. But even more so than training, and I say being an SRO, this is more important than any other division in law enforcement, even more so than training, is because I can teach anybody. Now, certified law enforcement instructor, I can teach anybody how to be a cop. It's not rocket science. That doesn't mean they'll do the job well. Doesn't mean they're, going to be the greatest officer ever. But I can teach anybody to, have the basic skill set to be a cop. I cannot teach anybody to give a damn. I cannot teach anybody to care. And that right there is the most important part of selecting a school resource officer. It's the selection process. You have to find the right person. And what I say about this, like, and unfortunately, school districts, they don't get that. They think, I just need a gun. Excuse my language. I need a guy with a gun and a badge in a building, and that makes us safe. And it does not. There are so many schools across the country right now that will get up and go to school in the morning with a false sense of security just because they have an officer or a deputy that has an office down at the end of the hall. No, it's not how it works. Not how it works. When the sky falls, are you willing to put your life in that individual's hands? More so than that, if you have children, are you willing to put your kids' lives in that individual's hands? And if that answer is no, bye. Joe, you may be nice, but gotta go, Joe. So could not have done SRO, love the street. Yeah, absolutely. And there, because it's two totally different worlds. And there, when I first started doing this job, I still got to do both, but there was an absolute switch I had to flip. And sometimes if I was out really late the night before serving warrants, a lot of times I wouldn't get home till 3 or 4 in the morning and then have to be at school at 7:30 the next morning. It would take me a little bit to reprogram and not, because if you're on the street and I tell somebody stop and they don't stop, I'm going to make you. I'm going to physically make you stop. And, if you're being given a lawful command, that lawful command is going to be enforced. If you're working in a middle school and there's a kid, going down the hall and you tell him to stop, that's what I'm telling you. Chances are pretty high that kid may turn around and tell you kick rocks. And not in such nice words. And there are so many guys that cannot take that. Look at this. This says you have to respect my authority. See this badge? Yeah. That's the type stuff that when you see SROs on the news slamming a kid in the hallway or whatever it is, or forcing a kid up out of his desk, in the middle of a crowded classroom, that's that ego stuff. Because kids these days, they're going to challenge you. They're going to challenge you, without a doubt. Oh yeah, Greg, you wouldn't believe it. I was talking to I had a former student I hadn't seen in probably 10 years in here, that just when I started this live, that I hadn't talked to in probably a decade. And at least 7 years. Um, so, but I'm good at my job. I'm really good at my job, and I'm not being cocky. I'm not being egotistical. No, I care. I give a damn. I'm really good at my job because it comes natural to me. Because I love being a dad, and I treat every kid of mine, if I'm at a school that I'm working at, as my own. I'm gonna treat you as my own kid, man. You know, if if you are a parent and you expect me to lay my life down for your child in the event that, some nut job comes in wielding a weapon, you're going to want me to look at your child as I would my own. And because kids oftentimes don't, onside kick, what is good, man? Onside kick productions. How are you? Um, you lost my train of thought, my guy. Um, but yeah, kids aren't given enough credit anymore. They're really not. Um, that they can see through the BS and they know if you care or not. They know if you care or not. I'm mid to late 40s. I've got 160,000 plus followers on TikTok with a blue check mark. I didn't get that way because I wanted to be some social media social influencer. No, had nothing to do with any of that. Hell, I've had to fumble fart with this. That's why you haven't seen me in a while. Well, everything's been going on, but that's what I'm on here late now. I'm trying to fumble fart around to make this better so I can still continue with what I'm doing, trying to adapt and evolve um, with the technology. No, it was because I cared about my kids, my kids at home. I wanted to see what they were up to, and I wanted to see what my kids at my schools were doing. And if you're not willing as an adult, especially a cop in a post 2020 world, if you're not willing to meet kids where they are and you think they're going to come to you because you're a cop at the school, you're going to be waiting a long damn time for those kids to get to know you. And building relationships with young folks, bridging that gap is what it's about. And go back to my uniform part of it. That Avon schools, they're wearing basically t-shirts and khaki pants. They look like janitors and they look like security. And that's all they are. They are overpaid security guards. That's it. There's very little law enforcement going on there. And that's what they want. They wanted somebody to do as they say and not, the law enforcement way. And because to me, my problem with that is I want kids to get used to seeing me in full uniform. And to when they leave there, if they see another officer, especially one that's squared away, they're like, hey, I know every officer that I see on, that everybody else says F12 and whatever else. But the guy I know that looks like that, I can trust. So I know they're not all like that. Right. And that's that's such a tremendous part of being a police officer in schools. And we have so many school districts that don't get it, that don't understand it, and they've basically they basically they're letting drugstore managers run their police departments, and that's not teach their own. Brother, what's good, man? Busy filming Aussie Rules football. For those that haven't, any football fan here, check out Onside Kick Productions. American Rules football is really taking hold down under as well. And he's in Australia. He's in Australia. That's what we become close over the years because I keep random hours, as you all know, and he films all the football that they have to offer down there, and it's awesome. I love it. Good to see you, man. I we'll have to catch up here sometime soon. I'm just getting back on here after about a 6-month hiatus. Brother in Blue, what's going on, my guy? Life looking up. It's any day above ground's a good one, right? It's I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I'm not where I want to be. And if I think about it too much, it's easy to get down where I have been. I've got a lot of work to do. Still have a lot of work to do. But I'm confident that good Lord did all of this for some reason. I just don't know. I don't know the why. I really don't. And, I don't know what's next. I don't know what's next. I'm not done being, I'd love to. I want to lead a school-based police department is what I want to do because I'm good. I'm really good at that. I'm really good at that. And I have a lot to offer as far as teaching folks and paving the way to continue to do that job long after I'm done. Right. And that was my plan in Avon. 5:12 p.m. on Tuesday. That is insane. It is 3:13 here on the East Coast. Here in lovely and scenic Tampa, Florida is where I'm at the moment. At least for the foreseeable future. I'm really hoping to be back in Indy here within the next month or so. That's my plan. But unless something, I will go anywhere at this point. I really will. I don't have anything like we're just open. We're open. I'm not done doing what I want to do yet, but I don't. The one thing I don't want to go back to doing is I don't want to start from scratch either. I don't want the past 16 years of everything I've done, training, experience, everything else to be in vain, to have to start over. But I'm willing to do whatever. I enjoy this. I'm trying to do this more. So I'm trying to work it out. So and anybody here, if you have not, please smash that follow button and please do me a solid. I've got to get my followers on Instagram up. Like at my level of followers are so disproportionate from Instagram to TikTok to YouTube. So even if I had a 16th of the followers I have on here on TikTok, on Instagram, I'd be happy. But it's at the Officer Craig on Instagram, at Officer Craig on YouTube. If you make to either one, I'm streaming on both right now. So the whole plan is podcast. The new revamped podcast will drop. I was hoping Wednesday. Looks like it still will. I hope, barring any issue, and we will go from there with it. Lifelong Football with Officer Craig. So, and if any of you are into podcasts and whatever, you want to hear any of this, Greg, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, it's if you read that GoFundMe link that's in my bio, a friend of mine told the story, and I wouldn't even put that up, but he talked me into doing that, or else I just disappeared. I'm like, but it pissed me off. Like when I first started on here, I had somebody I don't know, somebody that doesn't follow me, comes on here and is like, "Are you not on the Brady list?" What? Why the hell would I be on the Brady list? And I'm guessing they thought I was someone else. In fact, I got to find out where that went. See, it's the little things that chap my ass sometimes. Excuse my language. But it's 3:30 in the morning, so I figured any of my kids are asleep. Just a second. Oh, man. Yeah, I got to get ready to wrap this up here soon. But I apologize. Give me just a second. I've got to find this before I this gets shut off, and I want to see who this person was. I think it's gone. Oh, I don't know what happened to her comment. Oh well. Oh well. It's all good. I'll have to look at it afterwards, but yeah, but anyway, go after we lost our house, I my point I was planning to and intended to and had already talked to HR about filing FMLA so I could take a week off because we didn't get much PTO because we'd be off on breaks. And talked to HR for like 90 minutes. Lady I knew with HR, she's like, yeah, absolutely. You've got like 3 different avenues that you'd be able to file for. That was on a Friday. She sent me all the paperwork. She's like, just look through the paperwork whenever you get a chance. Fill this out. Just get it to me, whenever you get an opportunity to next week. If you go for yourself, have your doctor fill out this. If you have this, da da da. I'm like, all right, great. And they fired me Monday. So basically the day after I had, which is, people are like, they can't do that. That's illegal. And I'm like, yeah, from what I read, it is. It very much is. So, but again, sometimes too nice. And Greg, you're right. Everything happens for a reason. And I continue to try to tell myself that, man. But it'd been different if I would have hated my life. You know what I mean? It'd been different if I was miserable. I was miserable at work. I loved where I was. I was miserable who I worked for. Because I didn't trust the dude for obvious reasons. And this is why. Because he always had a hard on. I always made him. I could see and I could, the jealousy, envy, anger, whatever it was. I'm not letting anybody bother me that much. But I did all I could to try to get along with this dude, to make things, and he pretended, he knew he could walk away and that I would have things taken care of and he didn't have to worry about anything. And I hated that he didn't care for that department as much as I did. And I think he knew that. And that was another reason he didn't want me around, but oh well. I stayed as long as I could. I stayed as long as I could, but it kills me that he fired me. It kills me that this guy got the satisfaction to fire me. I've never been fired. I'm that's just, it's silly. It's absolutely silly. David, I want to run for sheriff. I don't know where, because where I'm at, I don't know when, where that'll be. I don't know who wants me. I've got a lot to offer. I do. But that's something that takes money and fundraising and support, a couple of years ahead of time, at least a year ahead of time before you file your intent to run. But because I miss being at home. I say home. Indiana will always be home to me. I love it down here. It's been phenomenal being, down here all winter, but it's May and I've spent basically the past 20 years at the track all this month working. Fever season's getting ready to start. I miss my life. I miss my life because I didn't just lose that. And that was something else. I lost my job with the Pacers because I didn't carry a badge anymore. And with fever and all of these other things that I did that I'd done for the past decade, he was able to, and he took joy in that. he took joy in that. So as he's sitting at home playing Zelda, you know, uh, karma sucks though. And do what you want to me, but what my family's had to endure, um, yeah, I just I'm not like that. I couldn't have done that to anybody. I wouldn't have. So it is very sad, and that's the other part. I didn't get to tell any of my kids by none of the staff, uh, and this is the most I've talked about it. I didn't make a big deal out of it, uh, because it was embarrassing. Like I had no reason to be embarrassed, but it still sucks. Just like that, people are always questioning or because guess what? Not everybody likes you. I don't care how loved you can be. People build you up just to break you down or cut you down, for lack of a better term. And that's how society is, sadly. But as much as people there in that district and that community loved me, I know I'm sure there was, equal amount that couldn't stand my bald backside. And that's okay. That's okay. But one thing they couldn't ever say was that I didn't care, that I did not care, and there was never a parent that I talked to that didn't think, that wasn't confident that I would, as long as I had air in my lungs and blood in my veins, that I was going to do everything I could to keep their kids safe. And that, Greg, I appreciate it, man. And that's you hit the nail on the head. Redneck Garage, thank you so much for the follow, brother. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Trying to get my life back on TikTok back together, because this was my, for those of you that know me and follow me for any amount of time, I would do this, 3 to 5 nights a week at least, 2-3 hours alive. And this is like therapy to me, I typically wouldn't talk about a whole lot of work stuff, but, just bitching about my Colts or whatever else, lifelong football. But Greg, you're right that I've been lonely, brother. I've been really lonely, because when you don't have anything to offer people anymore, you find out who really gives a damn. And, of course, I'm Officer Craig, the TikTok cop, the guy that's on the news, the guy that does this, the Pacer games, maybe we can get us down here, Colts games, and this, that, and the other. That's great. I love doing all of those things. But all those people want to keep you on speed dial and text you all the time and try to stay in good graces with you. The minute that's gone, then I'm not that guy for a hot second, because this is temporary. This isn't forever. I know that. And the sad thing is, I will be back better than I ever was before, in some way, shape, or form. I know it. I know it in my heart. I feel it. I know this. The Lord's told me that. I felt it, but it still doesn't. I've had a hard time. I've had a hard time with it, because now I'm like, oh, I really didn't think I'd still be at this point. So it's it's difficult, man. It's been difficult, but I always try to remember that things could always be worse. I know that first and foremost, things could always be worse. And there's always somebody else that's going through things that make the stuff that me and my family are going through look laughable. But it wasn't always like that. Me and my wife, my daughter, and our 2 Chiweenies basically lived in my wife's car for over 2 months, bouncing in and out. And I had money at the time. I was exhausting my savings, and then it went into exhausting my retirement. And that's what's led us here. That's the only thing that I've been able to live on. But it is what it is. I put faith in the good Lord. And that's the only thing have to do. So, I don't know how or why I ended up down here in Florida. It was good for me at the time because I'll tell you, I went through a really, really, really low point over the winter. Uh, we didn't have a Thanksgiving. We didn't have a Christmas. Um, and those are, you know, and everything I've done, you can't help but think of, because your phone reminds you of it, memories, this time, on this day last year, and everything was great. Like I didn't even get to process the Pacers playoff run because I worked every single game, even all the way up through Game 7 of the finals. I didn't even get to I had so much stuff and I was so busy. I didn't get to process all of that. Like that was a whirlwind, and it was just. You have a son that's been missing for 5 years? You've got to be kidding. How old is he? And then I talk about that. Like I haven't even talked to my kids, my adult kids, and that sucks. Because my oldest boy was he was the only friend that I had. I don't want to say only friend. Of course, my wife's my friend, and my youngest daughter is my friend. But he was my only male friend. Like he was my best friend. He was my best friend since the day he was born. And he graduated Purdue last May, moved to Texas, moving in all of the things. And I know he's starting a life, man, but I haven't talked to him it's been over 2 weeks. And it's just, I don't need anything. People are always afraid of, you're going to ask them for something, I guess. I needed brotherhood. I need companionship. I just need somebody to vent to because I've been with my wife and my daughter day in and day out. And I'm so grateful for that. But I'm not going to pile on more stress in the things that are breaking me down every day and the things that are weighing me down. I'm not dumping that on additional stress on my wife or my daughter to make them worry any more than I know they already are because I know they see me go through it. They've seen me at my lowest points over the past couple months. So, Greg, I am so sorry to hear that, man. If there's anything I can do to use my platform to spread the words or information, let me know. Seriously, that's why I'm here. It's what I, can't guarantee anything, but I've got a couple of followers at least on TikTok, and hopefully I'll get more followers on Instagram too. So if you guys ever make it to Instagram or YouTube, please give me a follow over there. Oh, I absolutely believe in prayer. Like I know that the Lord did this for a reason, man. I know, like it was just you don't lose everything at once in that way, coincidentally. And for those in law enforcement or that have ever done, that there's no such thing as coincidence. So, I'm going to come out of this better. But I'm just ready to get out of it now. I'm ready. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind, man. Son went off the grid 8 years ago. Guys, I've been so close. I have literally been so close to just thinking, those are the intrusive thoughts. I know that's the enemy, but just nobody cares. Nobody deserves to hear anything from me. And I know that's not true. And that's and to your point, that's what bothers me about not, my son's in another state in an area that he doesn't know. I know what I know what he knows and I know what he doesn't know. And that worries me. But he's an adult now, and the lack of, I guess, the lack of care I've felt that I've gotten back from him, and maybe it's me feeling sorry for myself, but like, I just want to talk. And I've told him that over and over again. I'm like, I just miss my son. I haven't seen my kids since July. My youngest son, I haven't talked to since July. He won't talk to me. And I don't know why. I honest to God, if I knew why, I would feel okay with that. Like, there's at least something I can fix or figure out or whatever else. But him and my youngest daughter were like salt and pepper. He doesn't talk to her, doesn't talk to my wife, his stepmom, that he's known since he was 2. And that's really what kind of stuck a wedge, because I got kind of pissed off at my other kids. I'm like, you guys can't, that's not, I have no other family. Like, my adult kids are it. They're it. That I have no other relatives. Like, they are it. We are, we were close. And if any one of my kids called and said they needed me right now, I don't care if I had a dime in my pocket or not, I would walk to Indy from, or Dallas from Tampa. I would. But you also want to kind of think that, God forbid, if you ever were, painted into a corner, that they would be there to have your back as well. And I've felt abandoned by my adult kids in this way. I ask them for a damn thing other than just keep in touch with me, so I could at least have that part of my life remain normal. And it hadn't. And he'll be 23 in June. And my oldest daughter will be 26. Wait, no. Shit, she'll be 27. Holy hell. Yeah, so she'll be 27. He'll be 23, she'll be 27. And I kind of got mad. I'm like, you guys see your brother or you talk to him. I can't go. I'm not going to your mom's house. I'm not whatever else. Like, so have him call me, or we figure this out, or he tells me to F off. At least I would know. If I know why he's mad at me, at least I know. But not knowing why my child's not talking to me, on top of all this other bullshit that I've gone through, I've had a hard time with. And I don't talk about it because my wife doesn't get it. She doesn't understand. I don't want to add more stress to her. So you guys are the first time I'm really even venting this. And I've lost it twice over this because I cannot take it. Like, if I ever would have known that this would have happened, or I would have felt like I do towards my kids right now, because I'm angry with them. I'm angry with them. Not only just me. If you're mad at me about something, fine. But my wife and their half sister, she's the youngest. She's the only family that they have, or that they're the only family that she has. And they've been great siblings. They've always grown up together. Like, she feels abandoned by him as well. And I don't get it. I do not get it. But yeah, it's the not knowing. Like, there's nothing I can fix. I don't know. Like, I'm not completely, no, I'm stupid. I'm just completely blind. I did the XYZ and I just act like I didn't do anything. No, not that at all. I don't know. But what hurts the most, another part of it, is even if I get everything back to the way it was and better tomorrow, let's say, and I come back to Indy, things will never, ever be the way they were when this happened. That was the house that we lived in for 8 years, 7 and 8 years, whatever. that the kids grew up in and graduated high school in, and all of the things. Um, it sucks. My son, I just happened to see on Instagram pictures of him at prom. Like, I would have, if I ever would have known, I wouldn't get to be there or get a phone call or a text of a picture at very late. Like, they're the reason I did everything. They're the reason. I mean, I love law enforcement, but that was all the extra stuff that I've always did because I wanted it, because I wanted them to be proud of me. I wanted them to be proud of me because their mom hated me. That's fine. And I know that she had said so many things about me to them. I've done everything I can in hopes that they would be proud of me in some way, shape, or form, or at least proud that I was their dad. And I don't feel that that's the case. And that hurts, man. That hurts. But I'm getting too in the weeds on this. I appreciate you all. I want to wrap this up. It's 3:38. I will I'll be on here tomorrow night, or tonight, Tuesday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time is what I'm shooting. I have to set a time to start going live, so it'll be, I don't know if it's going to be 9:30, I don't know if it's going to be 10, but one of the two, 9:30 or 10. I'm going to dabble with that time a couple times when here as we film the podcast and record the podcast and all that stuff. So I appreciate you all. Thank you all for listening to me tonight, this morning, whatnot. I appreciate you more than you know. And please come back. Please come back tomorrow if you would. I appreciate at least, I hope most of you have good intentions, because not everybody does. They just want to come in so they can hopefully learn something, and so they can be a gossip or whatnot. And it is what it is. But God bless each and every one of you. Thank you all so much. As I end every live, I leave you with this. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. That's the God's honest truth, man. It costs nothing to be nice. You never know how much you can change the trajectory of someone's day or even their life by a small random act of kindness. This world is full of people just that are angry, and I get it. Gas is $5 a gallon. Groceries are what they are. I get it. I've been one of them. But just remember, you never know what somebody's going through. You don't. Like, we're all of us are going through something. Some of us are going through a lot more than others, and vice versa. But so if you're out and about and a cashier's rude to you, or somebody cuts you off, or tells you you're number one, I ask and remind you, I ask that you show them some grace. I ask that you show them the grace that I am certain that someone has given you at some point in time in your life, even when you didn't deserve it. Because I know for damn sure that that's happened to me. I know plenty of people have shown me grace when I didn't deserve it. So the next time that happens, please just try to remember that you don't know what they're going through. And hey, I'm going to give them a pass. You don't have to clap back. You don't have to say something back to them. You don't have to tell them they're number one. Like, there's all of these things. Take the higher ground, because it is unsafe. Like, everybody is just driving around on the edge of just losing their shit completely. And, and this is where praying comes into place. Pray, talk to the Lord for peace and love and understanding and patience. All of these things that I'm constantly trying to work on a daily basis. Because I feel like I'm sitting here not doing what the Lord's wanting me to do. But I hopefully I get that figured out here real soon, or he shows me a lot sooner than later. But maybe it's not about me, because that happens as well. So I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful night. or day tomorrow. Be safe. Keep your head on a swivel. Love one another. I appreciate you all. Be good, TikTok. Be good, Instagram, YouTube, all of the things. I'll see you.